Overnight, New South Wales recorded 18 cases of community transmission. 2 people, unfortunately, were infectious in the community.
Lower numbers after yesterday's high of 35 cases, but still no word on when lockdown will end.
We only intend for this lockdown to be the only lockdown we go through, and that will factor into our decision-making. And I hope to be able to communicate to the community tomorrow on what next week looks like.
But the Premier foreshadowed ongoing restrictions when Sydney does eventually reopen.
When we do come out of the lockdown, it won't be what life looked like necessarily before we went into lockdown. And the difference now to what occurred in the last year or so is the Delta strain.
At the locked-down Summit Care aged care facility in Baulkham Hills, another staff member tested positive overnight, followed by a resident this afternoon, bringing the total to 6 residents.
There were a small number of additional staff contacts identified, and action has been taken to put those staff members into isolation.
And for those who attended an illegal party at a Meriton Suites in Sydney's inner south that has directly resulted in 12 new cases, an unexpected thanks.
Can I just genuinely thank those young people who attended that party, that have cooperated with our contact tracers, that have given us the information, that have got the message out to their family and friends.
So with the Delta variant rewriting the rules, will life in Sydney have to change to stay on top of the virus?
For his expert thoughts, we're checking in now with infectious diseases physician Dr Peter Collignon. Peter, I think it's fair to say most experts seem to be predicting that the lockdown will be extended. Do you agree?
Well, I think it really depends on what we see over the next few days. I mean, I'd like to see the numbers down at, 10 or 15 consistently for a few days, or preferably lower. And all those people, or nearly all those people, having been in isolation. So I think we just have to wait and see. I think it's likely it might go another few days as well. But, the numbers over the next few days are going to be critical.
Well, the Premier has said life won't be the same after lockdown as it was before because of the Delta variant. What restrictions will Sydney-siders need to learn to live with when coming out of this lockdown?
Well, I don't think it's only Sydney-siders. I think we have to look at this Australia-wide. I mean, we've got winter here with us, and we know viruses spread more readily until early October. So we ought to assume that this could go anywhere or be anywhere at any time and take extra precautions. It means QR codes, and making QR codes are actually followed, and you're not allowed into any place without, showing you've done it. It means keeping crowds down, looking at 4 square metre rules or at least 2 square metre rules. I think full crowd football matches are not a good idea. Not that you don't get much transmission outside, but there's big crowds that go there and where they congregate afterwards. I think there needs to be limits on how many people go to your house over winter. Now, we're in a good situation because we've got a lot more vaccinated people now than last year, and we'll likely have a lot of people vaccinated by come September, October. 25 million doses may be given. But that actually means we've got to be really careful over the next few months. This is the peak danger period for spreading viruses. So we should live with some restrictions, even if you don't have any COVID spread in the community. And obviously, the more you have, the more the restrictions. But I don't think we can live life normally for the next 4 months. We need to accept there'll be restrictions, still get on with life, but not go back to, 2018, 2019, because I don't think that's safe until at least October, November.
So, Professor, do you think schools in New South Wales should reopen next week?
Yes, I do, because children, while they get infection, particularly young children, get infection, they spread it less than their parents. So unless you've got widespread uncontrolled COVID, primary schools in particular should stay open. Now, individual schools might close at times when you've got an outbreak, but schools should be one of the last places we close. You should be closing bars and restaurants before you close, especially primary schools. So, yes, I think they should reopen. You'll have to take extra precautions, particularly the parents and the teachers, because that's where most of the spread occurs. But children, young children, are less risk than their parents and their teachers.
Yeah.
Peter, retail's been a big issue during this New South Wales COVID outbreak, everything from car dealerships to candle stores. But there's been one sector in particular that's raised a few eyebrows. Lingerie shops, Peter, have remained open. Should lingerie shops be open during this outbreak?
Well, I can't say I've got a lot of personal experience, but I presume they're not cheek to jowl in these lingerie shops.
Oh,
but,
goodness.
you know, I would have thought if providing they keep their physical distancing, it shouldn't be worse than any other shop. But I guess if you buy a lot of stuff there and what you do with it afterwards and what party you have afterwards might be more of an issue than the lingerie shop itself.
Could just be a party for two, Peter, in the house, you know.
Well, yeah, but two would be okay, but if it's bigger, that might be a problem.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
No judgment, Peter. If that's what you like, totally fine. Totally fine.
And God bless Helia, who thinks that lingerie is designed to raise eyebrows. I mean, that's... Yeah.
I'm sorry we're making you listen to all this, Peter. Thank you very much for your
Peter's
time.
loving it. What are you doing about it?
See, it was uplifting. Bye.
well, that's a little bit of spice at the end, isn't it?
Your move, Langbrook.
That was eye-popping.
Checkmate.
We are off to a break. More projects soon.
Coming up, remember.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed. From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.